Don't be shy, Shane. If you don't want to go get
All right, good morning, folks, ladies, gentlemen, and Queenslanders. Thanks for coming. I have a video camera running in the back, as some of you may have noticed. There's been a request for some of these sessions to, that they want to see both of them at the same time. So if that happens to be you, that you want to see the other presentation is being recorded as well. And there's also a sign-up sheet, so if you decide that you want this PowerPoint after it's done, I can sell it to you for $4.99. A table out back, and we can make a deal. So there you go. If you want to sign up for that, that's fine. The idea here is doing your part. We'll try to be done by me. So, I was ordained in ministry. I think I know everybody here, but in case I don't, my name is Todd Beiswenger. I was ordained in 2011. So it's been about 3.5 years that I've been doing this. And this talk has kind of come out of some of the things that I've learned, and particularly in dealing with people who say, I'm not feeling great, and they want to talk. So if someone says, I'm not feeling great, and they want to talk, they're usually not in a great place. And what I find about it is they don't feel a certain way. They don't feel special. They're at a point in their life where they're going, you know what, I'm just not feeling like I'm contributing anything useful to anybody. Maybe they're up in the years and they're living in the house all by themselves or an apartment, and they're just not feeling it. Maybe they don't feel needed. What I do just hasn't got any value to it. What do I do? I do my things, and I go to church, and I have a few friends, and we say hello, but not feeling useful. Not feeling useful. And maybe you guys, some of you are experiencing this now, hopefully not. But the idea here is to kind of look at this and say, well, how do we get out of this, and how do we look at some big picture things about feeling useful, about doing our part, and not getting to a point where you're not saying this, if only I could do, then my life would be better. If only I could, Angus is playing the piano. If only if I could play the piano like Angus Glenn, then I would be happy and successful in life. Only if I looked as good as Stan, then I'd be happy and fulfilled in life. But I don't. And I think some of this comes from out of our culture of heroes. You go to the movies. What's playing this year? Superman, the Avengers, Star Wars. All these movies. Somebody was wearing a Captain America T-shirt around here. That's what we have. We have heroes. Spider-Man. They're all out there. Batman. I'm sure there's girl versions of them. I don't know, but it's this hero stuff. One of the great movies I watched 10 years ago was The Incredibles. If you haven't seen The Incredibles, go see that. That's fabulous. But we get this idea of wanting to kind of be the hero. And sometimes, unfortunately, it has a bad morph into it where it's about being adored. We want to be up here, yeah, and everybody's cheering your name. Yeah, Todd. Yeah, great. Yeah. One of the most amusing things at clergy meetings this past year was one of the ministers who was administering the session got up and he grabbed the mic and he went out to him and says, look guys, get up here, say your piece, see how you see things, but don't have any grand delusion that you're going to get up there and what you say is going to amazingly convince everybody that your way is correct. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to walk over and say, guys, this is how I think the church should be run. They're not going to all get up and cheer, "Oh, how wise! Oh, the Australian! Yeah, oh." No, it's not going to happen. The adoration is missing. And I came across this quote that really kind of brought this up for me. It says, "Infernal spirits are elated in mind and wish to be called vigorous, strong, and heroes for the most trivial reasons." Yes, that's what we want. We want to be called heroes for the most trivial things. You see the way the table's out there? Had all the cutlery in the right way. Nobody can do it better than I can. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Yeah, sometimes these thoughts creep into our heads. You know, it's sometimes terrifying, I find, at least in my head. Some of the things I think, well, I did that really well. Well, you should see the way I cut those carrots. And they are even. Trivial things, and these somehow there's part of us that wants to be a hero and be adored for things that we do that just aren't a big deal. Not a great picture, but this is kind of what I think of when that minister got up there saying, "Don't think that you're a hero for what you're going to say." Because in the movies, that's what happens. Have we all seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off? Do we know this movie at all?
Yes.
Okay, some yes, some no. All right, this is, gosh, probably 30 years old. And is that Matthew Broderick?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Matthew Broderick is this punk high schooler who decides he's going to phone in sick, pretend to be sick, and he goes over to his buddy's house and he steals his buddy's dad's Ferrari, and they go driving all around Chicago having these adventures with this beautiful girl. And he gets up in this one part in this parade where he jumps up on the float, he starts doing his dance and his jig, and everybody starts loving whatever he's doing. Everything this kid does, everybody loves, and that's just not realistic. Because half of the world, at least, is cynical, and they like to knock us down a peg. So no matter what you say and do, no matter how great it was, we go, that stunk. But we have this delusion that we're going to be like Ferris, and we're going to be cheered on. Len's thinking in his head, yeah, but when I start playing that table tennis, we're going to be cheering, Len! Sorry. It's not happening.
But sometimes it happens for a split second.
Yeah, in your head. In your head. That's right. And again, we have this thing in culture, the chosen one. It's in a lot of movies. All right, so we have Neo from The Matrix here. I don't know if you've heard this, I've said this in Hurstville before, but Neo in The Matrix, it's an anagram for one. You rearrange the letters Neo and you get one. He is the chosen one. Any other movies we can think of that have a chosen one in it?
Harry Potter.
Yeah. That was my first one.
Karate Kid.
Kind of.
All the hero movies.
Yeah, you have heroes, you got Lord of the Rings.
Golden Child.
Yeah, Golden Child, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know if he's chosen. He does kind of become the one that saves the planet.
Mad Max.
Yeah, the Lego movie, that's a good one. That's a good one. I got Star Wars, Matrix, Harry Potter, The Legend of Zelda for you Nintendo fans out there. The Link character, that she was the chosen one who was going to save the land of Zelda. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And in these movies, you kind of go through and you kind of think, oh, yeah, it might be cool to be the one. And you go home from that movie and you go back to your ordinary existence and you start to go back to what was at the beginning slide and go, you know, not feeling so useful. I feel so chosen. I don't feel so chosen, that's right. Not feeling like I was the chosen one. I was one of those battle droids that got blown up, you know. I was one of some cannon fodder. Not feeling very chosen. But it's everywhere, and so this is what feeds into this warped way of thinking that we go home and go, well, I'm not very useful. I'm not saving the world.
We conveniently ignore the fact that these chosen people have big problems of their own. But we go out of the movie, we forget about that, and focus on the hero type aspect of their.
Yes, that's true. That's true. We do focus on those things, and that their life isn't perfect. You know, would you trade your life a wife and family for his life of stopping bullets with your hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Actually, I might. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Todd, I think like Facebook and everyone with their phones and stuff, it just puts it right out there as well. All you see is people posting.
They're posting the highlights
how
of their
good
life.
their life is, and even though you know it's totally not like that at all. That's all you see.
There was a quote I came across about how we compare the highlights of other people's lives to the outtakes of ours. And it's like, yeah, that sounds about right. You know, I see, like you said, I was on Facebook, oh, look what they just went and did. Oh, that's so amazing. And just last week, well, what was I doing? I was shoveling fertilizer in the garden. You know, that wasn't very fun. That wasn't very heroic. Yeah.
They only give brand of toothpaste and they really liked it.
Yeah, that's right. I had no such bathroom excitement. That's right. So when we think about these characters here, they defeat evil, right? The Neo defeats it. Anakin Skywalker eventually kills the Emperor. Harry Potter beats Voldemort. It's this epic, one-on-one, mano-a-mano battle, and yet, how is evil actually defeated? And when I pose this question, I'm not posing a theological question here. This is not a trick question. It's when you look out in this world, when you think about real concrete examples, how is something evil actually overcome and defeated? Nice things regularly. Okay.
Police.
Assistance.
Police, that's a pretty good answer. I thought of that.
Assistance, you have to keep active at it.
Shutting.
You can't.
Well, maybe acceptance.
Acceptance of evil doesn't usually defeat evil, in my experience.
But maybe if you accept it, you accept that it's
Okay.
not being evil, but it's making friends with the enemy.
So, aside from Matt, most of your answers are pretty much how to defeat evil on an individual basis. How do we defeat evil on a larger scale?
Persistence.
Persistence. Okay. Armies. Okay. So is there an instance where there is a chosen one in the world who goes out and saves us? I mean, yeah, Jesus in a theological sense for sure, but yeah, you have some guys who do their job and step up and take it in an area. I want to show you this map here. This is a map, and so we have, you can't quite see it because of the lighting here, but all right, so this is a gray, here's a gray, blue, and then we have the greens. Does anybody know what this is a map of? Other than this, yes, it's the world. Yes, thank you. Why? The greens are all on.
War zones.
We have. You're getting. So you have gray. You have some gray here where Spain and Portugal are. You have the dark greens and the light greens, and then the blue. Is green gray? Yeah, this one here is gray. Any guesses? In my house, we say, I'll give you a kiss and a hug if you win. That's often not as much of a threat to Zach as it is a. But I'm not offering that here. Maybe for Mary. This. Give up.
Yeah.
This is a map of the World War II Allies and Axis powers. If you were gray, you were neutral in World War II. If you were green, everybody, light green and dark green, were all on the Allied powers, but the dark greens came in sooner than the light greens. So the green is all one side, really, and the blue is a different side. Let's see, if my animation works right. There we go. So yeah, dark green is Allied after the attack on Pearl Harbor, your Axis and your neutrals. So that's how the world lined up for World War II.
So China was part of the Axis then? Once they got invaded
No,
by
well,
Japan.
yeah, I mean, China, that land was, but that's because Japan took it over.
Manchuria, yeah.
But Russia, it's sort of your enemies, my friends, or enemies' enemies become friends.
They were part of the Allied powers. We weren't necessarily buddies, but we were fighting against the common enemy, that's right. So, all right, so the theme of this talk is doing your part. And who's the chosen one who won the Second World War?
The banks.
Don't start. Did any individual that we haven't chosen? He didn't win the war.
No.
There was no individual that won the war. Everybody was out there doing their part. You know, I found there's lots of these kind of posters and stuff like this around. You know, about withholding materials, money, food. People saying, you know, I join the Army, join the Navy, do this, do that. We need you here, we need you there. Everybody was doing their part. And yes, we had great leaders who did their job for sure. And we had brave soldiers who went out there and lost their lives. But you didn't have to be a soldier. You didn't have to be Winston Churchill to be making a difference.
The builders of the Hoover Dam tell you they won the war. Because they supplied electricity to produce the armaments that won the war, you see. So
Right.
The Hoover Dam won the war.
Okay, fair enough. We're done. There actually is a hero, it's a dam. It's made of concrete, you know, that's our theme today, concrete. Yeah, no, it's all got to go together. And this is kind of what I want people to realize as we go through our own process, is that we have a job to do. My paternal grandfather was in World War II, and he fought out in the Pacific. He was a machine gunner. He was a young man, and if you ask him, you know, I remember as a kid, I said, what'd you do in World War II? Because that was so cool as a third grader. That was awesome. My grandpa was in World War II. What'd you do? Well, I went out in the Pacific and I got shot and came back. That's the answer he gave me. I found out later in life he was out there for 4 years getting shot out before he finally got shot himself and got sent back. On my mother's side, that grandfather went out there and he was part of the Merchant Marines, part of just getting stuff back and forth to the United Kingdom.
Sitting ducks.
Yeah, my wife's grandfather, we only know of one of them. I know she must have another one, but we only know of the one. He was out in India doing communications. He was stationed out there. Other people I know in the family who had jobs. One was a guy who was in refrigeration. He was out in the Pacific doing refrigeration. Well, guess what? Soldiers have got to eat. We need those guys. We need the guys who are out there who were cooks. The guys who were in the boiler rooms of these ships because they weren't nuclear powered yet. Everybody had a job. If you were at home, saving up scrap metal was important. You didn't feel like the hero of the guy in Iwo Jima hoisting the flag up. But without them doing their job, there was no heroes at Iwo Jima. You know, it all feeds into it. And this is what they were telling me, all these people at home in Australia. This is what we need you to do right here. You may not feel like you're being the hero because you're not getting the shot that wins, but nobody is. There's no single Australian soldier who won the war. There's no American single soldier who won the war. But each one of these people who was doing their job contributed to the effort. I mean, it was, you know, this map is somewhat deceptive only because Europe, aside from that little island there, all under Axis control. You know, even into Russia, they got in pretty far over here too. They were under Axis control. They had a big head start because they had all the technology on their side at the beginning of the war. But everybody chipped in and did their part. No matter how big your nation was, you sent people in. You sent supplies. You sent money. You sent materials. You know, everybody had to do their job. So, Swedenborg talks about us doing our job. He talks about this concept of the grand man. I presume we at least have some inkling of what the grand man is, but if not, I'm going to say it to you again anyway. That the grand man idea is that when God looks at earth, and he looks down from heaven, and looks on earth, he sees a single human being. It's this macrocosm of which we are all a microcosm. God sees the earth, he sees a person. And he steps back even further. He can see, oh, this solar system functions as a person, or this galaxy functions as a person. You function as a person. You have within you all these elements. But the grand man is how, in this world, we are all functioning as a single human being. And to me, that's what this map is kind of showing. We are all functioning together. It's the one shoulder. We're all united in this cause to rid of evil. And when Ruth was talking about how persistence, you need persistence to win over evil. Yeah, all these guys get together and say, we're not giving up. We're not giving up. So, with this in mind, which parts of our bodies can we do it without? And I guess you should probably say, how many would you like to do it without? Because you could do without your arms. You could do that. I got a smarty pants answer from you yesterday. You can do without your appendix. Yeah, it's true. Tonsils, teeth. You could do without your teeth. You can do without your hair.
I reckon you can do without your whole body and put your body in the jar.
And I'd like to try that. Yeah, there's not stuff you could do without. But there's not much you'd probably like to do without. I mean, that's reality. I mean, yeah, appendix is interesting, but because I haven't found a good purpose of it. Some of the alternative, more natural health practitioners say the appendix does a lot of creation of enzymes and stuff to help with digestion. So it has a purpose, but it seems like we can do without it if we have to. But for the most part, we like having a fully complete and functional body. And I think that's the picture Swedenborg starts to lay out for us in Arcana Celestia. He goes through these different sections talking about the grand man and saying, with each of these parts of the body, they correspond to a use. It's all about being useful. Everybody's got a job, and I wish my laptop was here so I wouldn't have to read this way, but we're going to do it anyway. He says, the variations there in the life of good and truth are countless, and each variation is determined by the way in which life from the Lord is received. Those variations are interrelated in exactly the same way as the organs, members, and viscera in the human being, all of which are ever varying recipient forms of life from the soul, or rather, from the Lord through the soul. Yet, for all their variety, they nevertheless constitute one human being. Okay, so all the stuff you have inside of you is just one person. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Sometimes we see our body like this. Well, I've got big pieces. I've got a torso, I've got 2 legs, 2 arms, I've got a head. That's it. You go, well, okay, I know there's more pieces than that. We're not stupid. Anybody have any ideas as to how many parts of the body that science thinks we have at this moment? What are they, any ideas? You've got 200-some bones, I forget the number now.
206 bones.
206? Yeah. Okay. So how many parts is science saying we have?
Many thousands.
Well, we're not talking to go that far with it. They're saying 7,500. 7,500. Yeah. If you go down to how many cells you have, yeah, it's gazillions. But as far as different things, your digestive system, for example, breaks down nutrients, and they go, okay, well, you got your large intestines, your small intestines, and the parts of the intestines, and the cardiovascular system. You have your lungs and all the blood vessels and the different types of vessels and the veins and the arteries and all this stuff. And you start going through, and you have your heart, and it's got this ventricle and that ventricle and this valve and that valve and all this other stuff. And you go, okay, they can figure out about 7,500 different parts of the body if you really get down to something on a functional level. Yes.
On
I'll be over this side so you guys aren't always blind. That's a lot of parts. So each one of these parts has a representation. It says it's a correspondence with his organs, members, and viscera, in so much indeed that not one organ or member exists in the body, nor one part within any organ or member, nor even one small part of a part in which there is no correspondence. So, some of us might say, well, I'm a right arm kind of person. Yeah, when I'm in heaven, I'll be in the right arm communities. That's kind of who I am. And that's great, except that, well, what part of the right arm? You know, are you the bicep? Are you the wrist part of the right arm? Are you the veins of the right arm? I mean, there's all these parts. And, well, okay, you're one of the vein people? Okay, well. Yes, and so how does that break down? As to what part of the vein? I don't know. I'm not a biologist or human body expert. But the idea is that as we start drilling down, that each of these things have its use. So do you. Each one of you has a part in this picture of life. And, well, yeah, maybe we could do without you. We could cut you out like the appendix. But none of us really want to have our appendix cut out either. You know, you might feel like, well, I don't have much of this or that. Well, that's okay. You're still useful. You're still part of the community. And there isn't much that you can say, well, if we didn't have that, well, then I'd be in bad shape. Heart, lungs, brain, that's probably about it. And we'll get into what these correspondences are. So the idea here is that every single organ, as is well known in the form and function, unlike the rest, so unlike to be totally different. The same applies to the forms within the forms, which are also so varied that not one form, not even one individual part, is exactly like another. That is to say, so alike that you can take the place of another without some alteration, however tiny. All these, every one, correspond to the heavens. So there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of heavens, lots and lots of parts of the body, and lots of opportunity for you to do something useful, no matter how big or how small, it's still part of the big picture. So here's an example of the brain. The brain gets lots of good correspondences. And he says, the left side of the brain corresponds to the rational powers, or those of the understanding. The right side to the affections or powers of the will. This was probably big news back in the 1760s. Not such big news these days. We're all like, oh, of course, left-brained people are this way, right-brained people are. We know that. That's why they use their left hand. Why the people who use their right hand, left hand. You know, that's. I think. Am I still the only right-handed minister in this continent? I think I am. I don't know about Martin. Is he left-handed too? He is? I think I'm the only new church minister who's right-handed on this continent, which means I have a very special place in heaven. But yeah, so we go, okay. Some of us, we can acknowledge this. Well, David Moffat's more artsy and talented in the musical stuff than I am. Okay, fine, no problem. But maybe I can do something better than he. I don't know what that is yet, but I'm sure there's something that I can do better than Moffatt. And we're okay with that on some of these things. Some of these things are very transparent, that somebody has a natural talent and gift for it. We go, yeah, all right, fine, yeah, they can have that, but I need to find something that I'm good at. What is it that I'm good at that I can have some trivial reason for being a hero? Oh, right. No, that's not the good side's talk. I'm supposed to be searching out ways to be your hero. Oh, I'm really good at card tricks. Oh, yeah, that's not really what you go to heaven based on, right? It's all about what you're doing that's useful. Now, when you think about this brain, sure, he's saying left and right have a correspondence, but based on what he's already said about all these different parts of the brain have correspondence, you can start getting down to the smaller picture. The brain, like heaven, belongs to the realm of ends which are uses. For whatever flows in from the Lord is an end looking towards the salvation of the human race. So are you doing things that are helping people go to heaven? Some of you are. And it's a pretty tall order. I mean, that's really what the writings tell us everything is about. It's about getting people to heaven. It doesn't matter if it's not fair. It doesn't matter if it's uncomfortable. It doesn't matter if it feels right. All that matters is that it helps you just take one step, either maybe out of a lower hell to a higher hell. Is that right? A milder hell. We'll say it that way. Into a milder hell, or move up the ladder in the heavens. You know, it's about getting that done. You know, if you're a brain person, you're into getting that use done. Let's get somebody to heaven. Let's help Stan out. Let's get Stan out of hell. Yeah. Let's get him out of his jar. But in the brain, it's not always perfect. There's not everything in the brain is perfect. It says here, but some communities exist which have no end that has any use in view apart from mixing with friends, male and female, enjoying themselves there. Thus they are wholly self-indulgent and care about no one else but themselves. I don't even think Stan qualifies for that. But what he's talking about in this passage is about some fluid or something that's in our brains, like a membrane that goes around it. He's saying, okay, there's just something there, and it isn't good. It isn't really very good. So you got to watch it. We get junk in our bodies. So I think the hot word these days, we get toxins in our body. That's what we like to hear about. Oh, we're going to remove some toxins. Sure, whatever you want to call it. We're getting rid of it. He says there are obstructions in the brain, and they cause nonsensical confusions there. Many communities of such spirits have been with me, and I have perceived their presence from a dullness, a slowness, and a loss of emotional feeling. And I think a lot of us can relate to this. I know I can. I know that I can say, yep, sometimes I'm feeling dull, slow, and I have no feeling. Yeah. I don't know about the nonsensical confusions, but it does sometimes seem like we get stuck in simple things that run us around in circles. And we just go, you know what, I just can't get myself out of this rut. What's going on here? Oh, you got an obstruction in the brain. Well, what's it from? Well, it's not something good. Maybe you need to do something to, I don't know, diet, exercise, prayer, reading the Word. You know, find something to help you get out of a rut that says, okay, you know what? I am valued. You know, I am valued. You know, it goes back to this grand man thing. You know, I am part of a bigger whole. No, you are not the entire body. You are not the chosen one. We're glad that you're here, but if you decide you don't want to be part of it, well, you can leave. The grand man has an exit. He does, she does, whatever. You know, it's you're allowed to leave, but we're like that you're here, and as long as you're willing to provide some use, you're welcome to stay. And that's this idea of heaven, is that when we die and we wake up in the next life, some people are like a fluid. You know, you can touch it on your lips and your mouth, and it absorbs right into your body. It just goes right to work. These are the people who die and instantly become angels. There are some people who have to go a little bit more. They got to be chewed up a little bit. Doesn't sound real pleasant. It's going to be a tussle. It's going to be a bit of a fight. But doggone, that steak's going to go down, and it's going to be good. Some people have to be chewed up a little bit. And some people go down, and they have to go through a process, and the angels of lower areas start separating out. That's what's going on here. You're welcome to, if you've got something of use, if you're something nutritious, you're welcome to stay in heaven. So, back to my brain, or the brain, not my brain, back to the brain. Swedenborg writes, I perceived that among them there were those who constituted the province of the dura mater. I don't know what the dura mater is. Yeah, which is the general covering of the cerebrum and cerebellum. So I still don't know what that is, really.
It's just like skin.
It's like a main right.
All right, sounds good. Then it was disclosed what sort of spirits they were. Just the same as when they had lived as people in the world, they were spirits who gave no thought to spiritual or celestial matters, and did not talk about those things because they were the kind of people who did not believe in the existence of anything other than that which was natural. They had not believed in anything more because they could not think beyond which was natural, yet they had not declared their unbelief. Rather, they had worshipped the divine as others had done, had said prayers, and had been good citizens. So, doesn't sound all bad. I mean, they were good citizens. They did what they were supposed to, but they really didn't stretch themselves. They still ended up in the grand man, right? Not all bad. They're still in. They're not necessarily having the greatest time because, I mean, they're just, what was it they had? They were no thought of spiritual celestial, so they, you know, kind of have a meh existence. But it's still heaven. Jesus says in the New Testament, you know, he says, well, John the Baptist, he's the greatest on earth. There's no one greater than John the Baptist of anybody here. But John the Baptist isn't even as good as the lowest in heaven. I don't know if these are the lowest in heaven, but this isn't a glowing review of these people. And yet Jesus is saying, look, these guys, better than John the Baptist, and John the Baptist is the best. Huh? How do you reconcile some of this? It's hard because we can't quite fathom, all right, well heaven's must be really fabulous then, right? It must be. And part of this is because of this another process where we go through in heaven to become part of heaven. The idea here is still, even in these lower parts, there's a function, there's a use. Now the heart. Now the heart's easy because we know the heart's important. If you're a heart spirit, you're part of that heart community, yeah, you're feeling pretty good. Inhabitants of the Lord's celestial kingdom all belong to the province of the heart. For the heart reigns the whole of the body and every individual part of it by means of the blood vessels, as do the lungs of every individual by the means of breathing. So heart and lungs, really important. You know, they're doing their part. But again, you know, we have all these parts of the heart. You know, arm. Who knows what part of the heart you guys are? But there's lots of things. And we fail to kind of realize until we have to go to the doctor for bypass surgery. And you know, that valve there, that's pretty important. That valve's pretty important. And what's that valve doing all day? Open and close, open and close, open and close. That's what I do. And you feel like, well, I'm not really important. All I do here all day is open and close and open and close. Open. How do you do today? How's your day there, Vern? Well, I was doing pretty good. I opened and closed a whole lot of times. You know, at one point, the guy started running. I was opening and closing real fast. But for the past 8 hours, I've been sleeping, so I haven't really been doing much. I'm pretty worthless. I'm just a valve. That's all I do. That's I open and close. Right? Sounds crazy, but you know, if I were to rip out that valve, none of you would be very happy about it. Yeah? You know, no, I like that valve. The valve's important. Yeah, it's important to have our stuff. We like our stuff, particularly when it comes to the heart. It's important, even though the valve doesn't think it. And that's what we need to start realizing. Well, what is it you do? What is it you do that's important that you don't think is important? That valve isn't feeling too important. The lungs. Lungs, right? The powers belonging to the heart and cerebellum are called involuntary, I can read, and spontaneous. But those belonging to the lungs and cerebrum are called voluntary. To this, some extent demonstrates how superior the perfection of one heaven is to that of the other, and how they differ from each other. Okay, are the lungs important? Yes. Are the lungs and the heart different? Yes. Are they equal?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, fine. They're equal, but they're different. You rip out out your lungs, you're dead. That's pretty much how it goes. You rip out your heart, you're dead unless you're somebody who's got a pig heart like somebody I know. You know? No, it's a cow heart. Cow heart. Sorry, cow. Her husband had some surgery done. I greet him with moo. Right? So you need the lungs, but notice how he's saying here, all right, there is a difference. There's a difference in how it works. You're both part of heaven. The lungs, he's saying, it's more of a voluntary thing. It's the kind of heaven you live in when you go, okay, I should be nice to Roz because, well, we heard she's a wonderful person. Her children love her. Is that you got that one last night? Yeah. Her children love her. She's a wonderful mother. So I'll be nice to her because of these things. And other people, you know, they're just naturally nice. Just naturally nice. They don't think about nice like I do. I got to work at it. But some people are just naturally nice. And that's what's saying the difference between the heart and love. It's just, you can get the idea of the difference between the heavens when you get that figured out. Now, I apologize for using a selfie. Really, I shouldn't do that. But muscles is one part of the body that's actually is a really good correspondence. It says innumerable societies correspond to muscles. Innumerable societies, and that they are like angels working together in unison. And so remember, the heart is a muscle, and it's all again about being useful, about doing something. It's about doing. And sometimes we forget that in the culture of church camp, because at church camp it's all about learning. And we go out and we do have some fun. That's all well and good, but we need to make sure that we take all the learning we did this week and go out and do something with it later on. And that's the muscles. It's you take something in and now you have some energy to contract and to do something with it. But I really like the idea that the heart is a muscle. You know, we had earlier that heart was about love. But it's about love that does something, right? You know, it's not just sitting there taking a nap all day. It's constantly going. Love is constantly going. And it's angels working in unison. It's all this stuff happening. The tongue, another muscle, but specifically it says, the tongue corresponds in general to the affection for truth. People, therefore, who love the word of the Lord and wish to gain from it a knowledge of what is good and true belong to that province. Yet they differ from one another, in that some belong to the actual tongue, some to the larynx and the trachea, some to the throat, and also to the gums, while others belong to the lips. You think about, again, the forms within forms. I mean, so you've got taste buds, and I think, isn't it like some taste buds on some side, one part of your tongue tastes different things, and the left side's this, and the front and the back, it's different spots, right? So you have within this tongue that has this love for the word of the Lord. Well, some people like different parts better. Some people like steak better. Some people like vegetables better. Well, I know which side of the tongue I'm going to be on. So that's how that's going to be, right? But you start realizing that everybody has their bit, and no single person is the tongue, right? You know, no single person is doing all that work of all this talking. Well, okay, yeah, some parts are doing that, and some people are tasting, and some people are doing whatever else. But when you start to see all these little parts that exist within the body, you start to see that this human body that we have here isn't a single thing. It's a lot of things doing the same thing, working in unison. That's what this is. That's why I like that World War II example so much, because you can go into any video store or Netflix online and you can find gazillion movies about World War II. And they're all telling a different story about how this group of people did their job. This guy was a spy, and he got this information, and he and his buddies risked their lives to get back to the office. You know, this guy, saved somebody's life, and that guy went on to do things. there's so many things around World War II where I see as a world, we got it together.
We need to do it. When we had the bushfires in Sydney and the Olympic Games in Sydney, people really enjoyed the fact that everyone was working together. People like it when it does happen.
Yeah. And it does happen at times. Ronald Reagan used to have a quote about saying, he'd address Congress and say, well, wouldn't it be great if as a world we actually had an outside force? Some people took it into saying aliens coming and saying, if we had an alien invasion, we'd all put aside our differences real fast and unite as a planet. I think there's some truth in that. Not that I'm wishing that, but I like it. If we have that comfort.
You had to learn to do it in peacetime as well as wartime, and there were ways of doing it in peacetime.
Yeah. Right.
It's not just need someone to start the ball rolling.
And it's also important for us as individuals to see where we fit in a community. Whether it's a big community or small community. It's this idea of drilling down and saying, okay, well, right now I'm part of the Melbourne Community Church, and this is what I do, and this is what I do within my home life. This is how I help out here, and just starting to see the things that you do, and how just like food nourishes the whole body, how things that you do in your house, in your community, and your, as your thing gets larger, this is how I affect. And sometimes maybe that effect is just affecting others who do things. A doctor, doesn't affect just the one patient he's doing. The doctor who saves a life affects lives of those who that person is connected with too. And you don't have to be a doctor to do that. You could just be a nice voice or an ear to listen on. When somebody's having a bad day, and they want to come to you and say, well, look, I need to talk. You're being a doctor. It doesn't feel heroic because they're not going to die physically. Sometimes that little bit of time just to put down your stuff and give somebody the time you need is all it is. When I started this, I was talking about my experience as a minister. I hate to tell you folks, but I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not a genius either. But with this little simple time to listen to somebody and put some thoughts out on the table, you can guide someone to help themselves out of their problem. That's all they need is a sounding board saying, okay, oh, well, look at this. And you go, yeah, good idea. I'm glad I thought of that. Right? You feel real good because you help somebody out. You go away thinking, I didn't do anything. I didn't have any good ideas. Kayleen thought of it all on her own, and she came to be upset, and now she's feeling better, but I didn't do anything. No, you did. You did. You did everything that Angus couldn't do. You listened. Right? That's all it is. That's all it is. Stomach, I kind of talked about this a little bit ago, about how the world of spirits is like a public square in which all first gather. And it's like the stomach into which all the foodstuffs are first collected. The stomach corresponds to that world. The stomach corresponds to the world of spirits. The stuff's here, and it starts being separated and pulled apart and sent to its various places to do its various jobs. That might be your deal. That might be your deal. You might be some sort of a, next life traffic director. Saying, well, you know what, this person, boy, they need to be with this people over here. Maybe you're, and that's where the matchmakers go. I don't know. If you're a matchmaker, you're a stomach spirit. You know what? I think this girl from New Jersey would do really good with a helper guy. You start putting her together with him, and all right, off she goes. You start separating out. I don't know. But the idea is you have a job. You have something you're good at, you do it. Now the kidneys, ureters, and bladder, this is a long quote. I think it's a 3 slides, so I'm going to go through it and just kind of bear with me. But the kidneys, ureters, and bladder, we talked about this a little bit with David's talk and how they're organs that separate. So they're not always sounding in great correspondence, but here's what we got. It says, they like more than to explore and examine closely other people's characters. They are also ones who wish to correct and punish, provided that such an action is at all justly warranted. The functions of the kidneys, ureters, and bladder are also like this. They explore the blood attracted into them to discover any useless or harmful fluid there. This they separate from what is useful and then purify it. or they send it down to the lower parts, harrying it both on the way down and by various methods when it gets there. Those who constitute the province of the kidneys and ureters are ready to explore and examine closely, closely other people's characters to discover what their thoughts are and what their wishes are. They desire to find out the reasons why those people think and wish the way they do, and to arouse a sense of guilt over any faults these may have. Any mothers in here that resonates with?
I was thinking that's me.
That's where I'm at.
Their primary purpose being to administer correction, and I have talked to such spirits about this desire and purpose of theirs. There's one more. Many of their kind were judges when they lived in the world, at which time they felt glad at heart when they found the reason which they believed justly warranted the imposition of a fine, correction, or punishment. The work of such spirits is also felt in the region of one's back, where the kidneys, ureters, and bladder are situated. Those who belong to the bladder extend down towards Gehenna, where also some of them sit like a court of law. Whew. It's long, but what I like about it is it kind of gives you some more detail about what's going on here. So we have these spirits and these people. Now, are these people in heaven? Yeah. Does that sound like a very flattering description of them? Didn't sound like, that was your description of, yeah, I like to just administer some fines and some correction. I can't wait to punish somebody today. Woohoo! Yeah. Sometimes I feel that's the way the justice system works, is that you have people who are interested in fining, especially as I drive from Sydney through here, and all the speed cameras. Somebody's anxious to find me is how I feel. And maybe I'm making somebody's day very bright. Yeah, so we start to see, all right, these organs have a part, and they have a function, and it's still in heaven. Still in heaven. And without your kidneys, are you going to live? No. No. No, no, no. There's a minister I know from Korea who was in Canada, and he had to go back to Korea because his wife had some massive kidney problem, and she needed new kidneys. They couldn't do it in Canada for whatever reason. They weren't part of the healthcare system there yet. But, it was a big deal if your kidneys are bad. Bones. Well, I think we're about done. Good. Good. This is the last slide anyway. That's good. Bones have very little spiritual life, but they are part of heaven. Serves as the foundation for all who have spiritual life. Can you have spiritual life without bones? No. No, you'd be a jellyfish. All his description about what bones are and what they correspond to is generally sounds very negative. These guys have no spiritual life. They don't care about much of anything. They don't think. They don't do this. They just go on and do their business. But you know what? We need those people.
They're the ones with the muscles going on.
Yeah. 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 So, I'm not sure what conclusions you are drawing from it. I'm not sure, as Trevor would say, are you hearing what I'm hearing? But what I do hope you hear is that this idea of the grand man gives us an idea that there is a use. And as you get deeper and deeper into it, you find that even the important things like the heart and the lungs, the little parts of it, the heart and lungs isn't a single thing, a single-celled organ. We're not part of a single-celled world. We're part of a multi-cell. We are part of something big. And that individual tongue cell or individual lung cell, whatever it is, may not feel that important. But it's doing its job. And as long as we go out and justly, faithfully, sincerely do what is asked of us, do what is needed of us, give a helping hand where we can, we're doing our part. And you won't end up sitting at home one day going, I'm useless. I'm not valued. I don't have anything to offer. Nobody wants me. Nobody needs me. Nobody would miss me if I wasn't here. Because none of that's true. None of that's true. So that's kind of what I hope you take from this. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. If you get a mosquito bite on your toe or a paper cut on your hand, you really notice how disabling it is and what you're doing. And so just one tiny thing like that, stopping the usefulness is.
Yeah, that's a really good example. I had somebody tell me something similar. Like they broke one of their toes, or they had a blister on one of their toes, and it was. And they said, "Wow, I had no idea how important this little toe was." Okay. Well, like I say, if you want a copy of the video, let me know at some point. Put your name on the list. I'll get you the PowerPoint or whatever if you want to see these things. But I will refer you to Arcana Celestia. There's a series in Arcana Celestia, also known as Secrets of Heaven, where he has in-depth articles about this grand man. You can kind of dig around there and check it out for yourself if you want to learn more about that. Is there a Swedenborg Minute on it? Oh, yeah, you're right. On YouTube, the YouTube channel, Off the Left Eye has that. So, yeah, great. Thanks for coming, and enjoy the. You're free.